Hello, and welcome to Nale Yoga, the podcast with Yoga Nidra journeys for deep rest and more. I'm Ruthie Ayzenberg, and I'm so happy to be here with you today. Are you somebody who looks calm on the outside, but on the inside, you always have at least 12 tabs open at once? If that's you, then this episode is for you. Today, I'm so excited to speak with Deepak Chari. He has been helping people release anxiety and emotional patterns for nearly 2 decades. And his work blends curiosity, science, and deep emotional insight in a really unique way. Deepak has spent nearly 2 decades helping people around the world release anxiety, stress, and emotional patterns that hold them back. And he's the creator of what he calls the Life Transformation Technology Program, which uses something called advanced voice biofeedback, essentially listening to the subtle intelligence of your own voice to help you uncover and release unconscious and ancestral blocks. And I am so excited to learn more about this. He originally trained as an engineer and has gone on to support clients in releasing anxiety, improving confidence, transforming relationships, and finding a sense of inner peace and clarity that often feels just out of reach. His work has touched thousands of people through his virtual programs, and he's been featured on a lot of media and podcasts for his thoughtful and compassionate approach. Today, we're going to talk about the hidden patterns beneath the stress and anxiety, how our voices carry emotional information we don't always notice, and what it might take to uncover deeper confidence and self-expression. So I am so excited to get into this conversation. Welcome to the show, Deepak.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, I'm so excited to learn from you. And it sounds like you're doing such interesting work with the advanced voice biofeedback. So maybe we can just get started with you sharing about your background in engineering and how did that lead you to come to work in the emotional healing and the voice biofeedback space?
Absolutely. That started with my journey as a child, actually. I had a lot of emotional challenges and struggles with low confidence, low self-esteem. I was also old as a, in addition, the bookworm as well, so kind of in my own little quiet group. So my choice of hiding out was in the library. I would hide out there for a quite long lengths of time. And while I was shifting from different aisles to be safe, so to speak, I would say, okay, I'm going to be here for a little while to be safe. So let me grab some books from the shelf to occupy my time. When I grabbed those random books seemingly off the shelf, I didn't realize, but those books were on the law of attraction, like As a Man Thinketh, Think and Grow Rich, How to Win Friends and Influence People, books by Dr. Joseph Murphy, and many others. So that ended up boosting my confidence, and I didn't realize I was actually programming my subconscious to think in a positive way about myself. So it was easier to face the challenging world I had. So this pattern of kind of hiding out continued from my elementary school, age 8 or 9, through junior high, through high school. Though it shifted in how it was done. Then it shifted into later on into, well, you don't fit in our group. Actually, you don't fit in any group, Deepak. So I was in my own group alone, feeling abandoned. So I thought, when I graduate from high school, then this will all end because this is a child pattern, I thought, from childish people. But then once I was 18 and up and went into college, I found that the pattern continued because I drew all these narcissistic, mean, cruel, manipulative, gaslighting, negative, whatever words you want to say, negative into my life. These were classmates, friends, professors, bosses, supervisors, and even relationships, every area. So I thought, wow, I guess this is how my life is destined to be. But I wonder, this doesn't seem like very fun. So fast forward, my sister and I formed the Chari Center of Health, which is an integrated functional medical center. In other words, we go to the root cause of medical issues versus the symptoms in a natural approach. Okay. But why did we even form that? You see, going back to my childhood, I was taking care of my dad. I didn't realize he was under a lot of stress and anxiety, which is the core of my work, releasing that. He never told, but I could tell something was bothering him. I would give him his high blood pressure medications and other medications every day. But then suddenly at the age of 51, he died of a massive heart attack. And so my mom was left a widow with 2 teenage kids, my sister and I. So then my sister and I looked at each other and said, how did this happen? Why did this happen? And I wonder in the future, could we prevent this from happening to anyone else? That's what led to that in the future. My sister went and decided to go into medicine for that reason, but in a natural approach because the pharmaceutical approach clearly didn't work. What I didn't realize also, Ruthie, is that my father was bullied too. I didn't know this till years later. He never said anything about it, but he was, even as a child and all the way. So he didn't question the people bullying him, the bosses, supervisors. He kept all the emotions internally inside himself, till it built to which was his heart attack. So when my sister, fast forward, was healing all these people of all these chronic conditions, I was so inspired because I was working as an engineer, you see. And the reason I became an engineer is because my father was an engineer. He inspired me. But I kind of was more compelled to what she was doing because I thought if my sister changes someone's life by reversing their health condition, they're happy and they influence others and they make others happy too. And I said, I would like to do that too. But she said, that's great, but you don't have a medical background. I said, you're right. Oh, so you know what? Remember I was reading all those books on the law of attraction as a kid? This is how I suddenly said, wait a minute. It talked about putting your intention to the universe. Let me try this. So I said, universe, can you somehow help me and guide me to do something in our center to heal people in some way? Because I don't have an engineering degree. I mean, that's how silly I said it like that. 2 weeks later, some friends came up to me and said, Deepak, this guy's going to be speaking in Santa Monica, California. We lived in San Diego, California at the time, not far away, about how your voice reveals all your limiting beliefs from your subconscious mind. And with computer software and advanced technology, you can capture that in computerized voice maps. And most importantly, you can send corrective frequencies to these people to release those limiting emotional patterns, anxiety, stress, depression, whatever it is, quickly and easily, regardless of how long they've had them. So I was inspired. I said, I want to learn about this. I went to him. I said, I would like to apprentice under you with this software you created. He said, okay, you know what? I'll take just one more person, and that's about it for now. I was like, oh my gosh, thank God I was in the right place at the right time.
Yeah.
He didn't want to train anyone else because he had some health conditions himself, and I didn't know that at the time, but I was in the right
Yeah, talk about synchronicity.
synchronicity, right? So I got trained in that. He coached me and made sure I did everything properly. And he said, I think you've got it. And so then this is where the engineering part came in, Ruthie. I said to myself, I did everything he said. It worked perfectly. But I wonder, could I streamline and make things more efficient, cut some steps here? And that was what I was always doing in companies, improving productivity and efficiency. So I did that too with this. And I streamlined it, made it faster, got even faster results. I said, I'm going to call it a different name. I'm going to call it my Life Transformation Technology Program because it's transforming lives. So then I said to my sister, now I think I can work in our center. I can leave this engineering profession. She said, okay, great. But maybe you should work on yourself to get practice. I said, oh, you're right. Then I said, wait a minute. I was bullied my whole life. Is this like a program? Remember the movie The Matrix, Neo and Morpheus?
Of course, yes. It's a classic.
Is that a program I can release? So I worked on myself. With the computerized voice maps, when the heat was released, the emotional charge, you feel a sense of peace. That's what happens when you clear these patterns. And it shows that you've released the emotional pattern. So I said, okay, let's see what happens. I don't feel triggered now. Suddenly, all those horrible people, remember, around me in every area, relationships, friends, these are horrible friends. They decided, Deepak, we don't want to be around you anymore. We just don't we don't want to be around you. These left in hordes, everybody. Those jobs ended, relationships ended, everything. Then it's like, oh my God, now everyone's leaving me? Isn't it better to have horrible people in your life than nobody? That was my thinking at the time. I know that's crazy. But guess what? A few weeks later, I drew the most wonderful, loving, nurturing, compassionate, caring people in my life. And by the way, I had no concept of what that even is. And the reason I share that with your viewers and listeners is that even if you have no concept of what a loving relationship or friendship or wonderful relationship is, you can have it. You don't have to keep repeating the same pattern in your whole life, which I would have done otherwise. So then I started working on one person after another till hundreds of people all over the US and world, because now I can do it remotely.
Mhm.
How I got into this.
Wow, that's amazing. It's such an amazing story of transformation that you did for yourself, and so wonderful that you're bringing it to others now. And
Thank
I think the question that I have and that many listeners I'm sure have is like, wow, how did you do that? Many people suffer from anxiety and bullying and all kinds of limiting beliefs that are deep rooted from childhood or even before that. And just, go on and try one thing after the next, but it's hitting corners and feeling like, I try this, but it's not working. It's not working. So, but it sounds like you did something very different and something that actually worked. So,
Yes,
yeah,
yes.
can you
I
share?
happened to be in the right place at the right time.
Yeah.
Um, so to explain this process, first, I think it's interesting. The viewers and listeners need to understand this process. I've discovered in doing this work that there are 4 phases we go through. And this explains where that even bullying pattern came from, because that's the first thing I wondered. Where did this come from?
Yeah.
The first phase, you see, is when your parents decide to procreate you.
Mhm.
You're just an energy being created. You have nothing on your hard drive, clean hard drive. But if your mom and dad had unresolved emotions, and they all probably did, they're not happy in their life the way they are at that moment. They wanted to be somewhere else in their career. Maybe your father felt that way. Maybe he had a traumatic childhood. Maybe he's not so happy in the relationship with your mom. He thought
Mhm.
he would do better. Whatever it is, a certain percentage of those unresolved emotions get downloaded to the child. Maybe he had depression, anxiety themselves. But the mom too. Maybe she wasn't ready for a relationship. Maybe she wasn't exactly ready for a child, but she thought maybe it'll keep the relationship together if it wasn't going so well. Some people think that. So certain percentage of those unresolved emotions also from her download to the energy field of the child, which had nothing there in the energy field. So you already had that. But guess what I also found? You get also a percentage of the unresolved emotions and belief systems of the grandparents on the mother's and dad's side.
Mhm.
Translation, your mother's mother, mother's father, father's mother, father's father. So if they had unresolved issues, and I guarantee you they all did, the grandparents, and if they didn't resolve those issues in their life, which I'm sure most of them didn't, the different wars and different situations
Yeah.
and other traumas in their childhood, a certain percentage from all of those people get downloaded to the child as well. And I can quantify this with this technology, believe it or not, in of their perceptions that the kid picked up. And sometimes it's even more than the parents.
Mm.
So that goes into the energy field in phase 1. But then you go to phase 2.
Mhm.
And phase 2 is when you're in your mother's womb for 9 months.
Mhm.
Every thought, feeling, and emotion in every fraction of a second that your mom has directly goes to the child.
Mhm.
What if your mom was like not ready to have the child? What if your mom wanted to be a jet setter model around the world and she's not being having a kid? What if she's not so happy in the relationship with your father? What if they're fighting while you're in the womb? You pick
Mhm.
all that up,
Right.
okay? Then you go to phase 3. What's phase 3? Phase 3 is when you're born. And you
Mhm.
already had 2 phases. Now that you're born, you have the direct interface of the mom and dad telling things to the child, maybe grandparents, maybe elders, uncles, aunts, teachers, other people older than us.
Mhm.
And I also found that from age 0, time you're born, till 7 is the most impactful age. And the
Mhm.
reason is you're basically a sponge in those ages. Your subconscious is like an open vessel. Whatever is said, you accept. You do not question at all. What if the parent said, "Oh, you're not as talented as I thought you'd be. Look at our side of the family. You didn't get that, I guess, huh? Look at that girl across the street. Look how tall and beautiful she is. Look how intelligent she is. Look how wonderful she speaks. Can't you speak like her? Can't you be as good in school like her?"
Mhm.
Is the message. I'm not good enough. I have to be
Mhm.
like, right? Doesn't that create social anxiety too? I got to keep being like somebody else, not myself.
Yeah, it's, when that shame gets placed on people. Nobody has that from the beginning, but it's something that gets placed. Can I ask, how do you measure this transmission of the emotional imprints on the child from the parents, the grandparents?
Yes, that's very interesting. You see, I have found your voice is the most accurate reflection of how you see the world, perceive the world, react to the world, and your belief systems about the world, which is formed from these phases. And and I'll discuss, there's another phase also. So when I'm doing a session with someone, and this is all done from the comfort of their home remotely, and they have their computer software that I download to their computer, they have a headset with a swing down mic.
Mhm,
I will take them into an altered state with this process in a very eloquent way. And then once in the altered state, that's how I can access their subconscious mind.
mm,
The voice tells me everything, Ruthie, about their subconscious mind and what's going on, even things they don't know, by the way. So I'll say, okay, now that they're in the altered state, which I take them into, I said, tell me, was it like with your mom as you're growing up? How was she with you? Was she nice? Was she not nice? So but they only talk for about 15 seconds at a time. This is called like an energetic voice computerized sample. It's like an emotional heat map
I
of
see.
their emotional energy. You see, first I will get a voice map, about 10, 15 seconds of their conscious mind, where they just talk about themselves. I'm this tall, my hair color's this, my eye color's this, I like to do these things, these
Uh-huh,
sports, whatever they like to say. Then I'll take them to an altered state where they think about and feel experiences of their childhood for a couple of minutes.
uh-huh,
And that takes them to the altered state. Then I'll say, okay, now tell me about yourself again. Well, I'm this tall, my hair color's this, my eye color's this. Now they're saying the same words, but they're in an altered state. That's their subconscious mind.
I see.
Once I record that, then I record voice maps of them talking about their mom. What was it like with their mom? What was it like with their dad? Then I'll say, I know you've had relationships that were challenging. Tell me about the current one you're in or the one that just ended. Tell me about the relationships that were significant before that. All
Mhm.
those carry energy. And lastly, tell me about your grandparents on both sides. Now, this is interesting. You might find this interesting, your viewers and listeners too. When we get to the grandparents, what if your grandparents all died before you were born? Oh, Deepak, you can't record my voice on that because I have no information. And I don't think they influenced me at all. I'll say, that's not true. Remember phase one I talked about? The imprints downloaded from them. It didn't matter if you knew them or not. But okay, but how do I record them? Because I don't know anything about them. They died before I was born. I said, I have a solution for that. You're in an altered state of consciousness. Your subconscious knows all past, present, and future. You may not, but it has all the answers. That's what I'm tapping into, the energy field of that. So this is what I'd like you to do. You know what your father looked like, of course. Yeah. Okay, imagine this is your father. And next to him, imagine a shadowy figure that you can't see the face of, and that's his father, your father's father. Okay. Now put your focus and attention on the father's father, though you can't see his face. And just say to me while you're putting your attention on him, I don't know anything about my father's father. And keep repeating that. Oftentimes they'll say, what? I said, trust me, just do this. I don't know anything about my father's father. I don't know anything about my father. Repeat this for about 10 seconds. I'll get a computerized voice map, emotional heat map of their subconscious mind on the father's father. And it sounds like a normal voice to us. I don't know anything about my father's father. I don't know anything about my father's mother, right? All the crap. But guess what? When I registered, one may show severe anger, the other grandparent, deep sadness, other one, tremendous fear.
Mhm.
Holy, but it sounded normal voice. No, there's much more deeper things in the voice you're not aware of. Then my software will do a computerized analysis comparing the voice imprints of those people they recorded to their own subconscious mind. And that will show me the percentage match of that voice map imprint to that person. In other words, they picked up the perception of that person.
Interesting.
Let me give you an example. How many times, Ruthie, have you seen a grandchild walk, act, and talk like the grandparent, and the grandparent died before they were born? Sometimes the imprints of the grandparents on the grandkids is even stronger than the parents. I saw this a lot because they'll walk and act and talk like the grandparent who died before they're born. They may even have the same personality of that grandparent.
Yeah.
And the other adults will say, did you notice that kid is just acting like this grandpa Joe? He never even met him. How is that? And guess what? He'll even have the belief system a certain percentage of him as well.
Yeah.
So that's how I do it. Does
Yeah.
that explain it? How I do the process? And to a certain extent, I mean.
To a certain
W
degree, I think there's so many questions, and we could
Oh,
really
yeah, yeah,
could
and the
get into
nuances of
get
that.
into the weeds here and the
Yeah,
nuances.
yeah.
Um, but I'm gonna try to keep things, focused and
Sure, sure, of course.
not get too much into the technological weeds of things.
Sure.
Um, but yeah, no, it's very interesting what you're saying because with my son, everybody says he looks just like me, but I'm like, but you haven't met my husband's dad because they have really similar mannerisms and they look similar, and I don't look anything like my husband's dad. So it's interesting. It's interesting
It
how these things get transmitted.
it is.
Uh,
Just like our hair color, eye color, and skin tone and height and weight, just like for your son too, probably,
yeah,
that's there. We all know about that. But
yeah,
nobody knows about the epigenetic transmission of the emotional patterns of them and even belief systems,
right.
right? So, but there's another phase. Is it okay if I share that one? Because
Yeah.
that's a very
So
important phase
the
too.
4th phase, right? We
The
didn't get to
fourth
the 5th
phase.
yet.
I told you the third phase is when the adults are telling the kids, um, "I don't think you deserve this," or "You didn't get the talent in the family. Why couldn't you be" those things, right? So
Mhm.
0 to 7, I told you, remember? But
Yeah.
up to age 12.
Mhm.
And if you notice, a lot of functions for kids are done around 12 when they become an adult.
Mhm.
Because guess what? They knew this in the past. 0 to 12 is the imprinting age, especially 0 to 7. So whatever is told, gospel truth, you accept it, even if you feel you're not worthy or deserving or
Mhm.
that kind of thing. But phase 4, the one I was going to talk about, is when you take phase 1, 2, and 3, which I discussed earlier, and you put it into your own life. Then you create the same patterns of your parents and grandparents in your own life, and then later into your kids' life. And
Mhm.
this repeats over and over and over again. But guess what? With this program I've created, because I went through my challenges, it's like a rocket ship taking you out of that repeating pattern into a whole new territory. So then for yourself and then your kids, you're creating a whole new reality instead of repeating the patterns of the past. And
Mhm.
that goes into the future. So that's the power here.
Yeah, that's very, very powerful. I'm wondering if you can share a specific example of
Sure.
someone or maybe even if we could do a little demo just so that people can really understand and maybe experience a little bit of what it might be like to experience some of these techniques.
Yeah, well, let me give an example so you can see the benefits of how this can work. I have
Okay.
a couple different ones. Um, one lady I was working on, she was so enthusiastic about life. She loved to paint and dance and sing and act and all these kinds of things. But she had some unfortunate personal relationships and issues in her family that happened, unfortunate things that took away her happiness in life in that time. So she went on depression medications for 30 years. But when she did that, in her case, she lost all her motivation for all of those things. And she became kind of a recluse, lost all her passion in life. Fortunately, after that 30 years of doing that, she somehow found out about me. So I listened to her voice. And you see, that's the key part. And I found I could barely hear a lot of her voice. It's based on the concept that these different limiting emotional patterns, in this case, depression, squash different keys in your voice, different emotions. And that's the science of this work. Squash different keys in your voice, anger, different notes, fear, different notes. So if you have a few of those, a lot of the notes are not heard. And guess what? You're not heard. And if you're not heard, you're not seen. So when this happened to her, I worked on clearing those limiting emotional patterns. And then I was able to hear her voice in a totally different way. Very powerful. Guess what happened? She said, Deepak, I'm feeling really good. Can I get off these depression meds? I said, ask your doctor because I'm not a medical doctor. He said, okay, let's reduce it by 15, 20%. She did that. She still felt fantastic. So she said, Deepak, can I reduce it more? I said, please ask him. And then she said, okay, 50%, then 75, then 100%. She said, I'm still feeling fantastic. I said, fantastic, great. But guess what else, Deepak? I said, what? I got my passion for life again. I'm singing, dancing, writing poetry, acting, doing all the sports, taking care of my health because she let her health slide before. And I have my passion for life again. So she got it back. And she saw one of her girlfriends who she hadn't seen in 30 years. And you know what her girlfriend said? Oh my God. She said, what? I haven't seen you in 30 years, right? Yeah. You don't look any different than when I saw you 30 years ago. Who's the plastic surgeon you're seeing? He did a great job on your face. I said, no, no, no. I'm seeing this guy named Deepak. He does with voice. No, no. Yeah, I don't want to know his name. He did a great job. The reason I say this story, tell this story, is because if you release those limiting emotion patterns that you have for 30 years, they weigh on you,
It's
Ruthie.
true. It
They
changes how
weigh on you.
you
They
look. It's
age you
true.
way before you should be. So literally, when you take the weight off, boing, everything bounced back. So I mean, she thought it was a plastic surgery. That was funny. That's the power. You're seen and heard like you never were before. And I wanted to add this also. 99% of my clients are women.
Mhm.
You know the most common thing they say to me? Deepak, I'm not seen, heard, acknowledged, appreciated, valued, and understood for all that I do. And I take care of everyone. I said, you know what? She said, they say, I'll speak for 20 minutes, 30 minutes about something I'm passionate about. And they'll say to me, ma'am, were you saying something? Or miss, were you saying something? I didn't hear what you said. I said, how could you not hear me? Well, they couldn't be heard because those emotions, remember, limiting emotions, guilt, shame, regret, social anxiety, whatever it is, squash different keys in the voice so they're not heard. If they're not heard, you're not seen. So when I release those limiting patterns, you will get a voice like you've never had in your voice. By the way, a great singing voice and speaking voice too. So I wanted to emphasize that of the concept of how this works. So that's a case study, because even another quick one, a lady who went through so much mental, emotional abuse in her life, like horrible, right? She triumphed and she wanted to inspire women. You can get through this too, right? Great story. She, for almost a decade, gave this presentation to groups of women, but nobody listened to her. Nobody cared. So she came to me with her PowerPoint and said, Deepak, can you look at my PowerPoint and see why no one's listening to me? I looked at her PowerPoint and said, it's perfect. So why are people not listening to me? I have such an emotional story to inspire them. I said, because I can barely hear your voice. You had a lot of trials in your life, but it squashed the notes in your voice. No worries, you're with me now. I released those limiting patterns. I said, I want you to give the same exact presentation verbatim to the same group of audience. But Deepak, that was so humiliating. I said, yeah, but you're not the same woman anymore. Trust me, I verified it. She gave that day, the same presentation that she did all those years before. And halfway through the presentation, tears were coming from the women's eyes. Before, they used to gossip during the presentation. And at the very end, they stood on their feet and they thunderously clapped. Never happened before.
Wow.
And they ran up to her table. Deepak, they all cheered me. How was that? I said, because you were seen and heard like you never were before. This is the key part. That's the key. When you release these limiting patterns, that's what happens. And aren't we a secret singer also? All of us, right? Imagine you get a voice like that, which you will. So in working with me, that's what I can help people with. But I can give some techniques that in the moment can help you
Yeah.
to at least help you in the moment. Like if something comes up, like let's say,
Well, before we get
you-
to the techniques,
yes,
I just wanna reflect and comment on these amazing, inspiring stories that you're
thank
sharing.
you.
Yeah, it sounds like really transformational work that you've been doing, and, um, uh, it's interesting because I practice brain spotting, and sometimes we joke around that after the session, the person looks like they got a brain spotting facelift, um because you can see when emotions get cleared, it shows on the face, it shows in everything. And it's also very interesting how you emphasize working through the voice. But we also see that every breathing pattern is associated with a different emotion. Um, our even the way that we move is associated with, and our posture is associated with different emotions. The way that we draw in our art is also the subconscious and the unconscious. We can't hide. It comes through the art. It comes through the movement. It comes through in everything that's basically like almost everything that's nonverbal, the unconscious comes through. It's really fascinating. But very few people work through this channel of the voice, and that makes you so unique. I'm just curious, like how many sessions did it take? How long did you work with these women for? And
Yeah,
also,
absolutely.
the
That's a great
results
point.
were, like, linear? Because sometimes, somebody can recover, but I
Yeah,
want people to have a realistic picture. So
absolutely. Definitely. I mean, we are all a work in art, a work in progress.
Yeah.
It's not like completed.
Right.
We often take care of our car more. We make, okay, we had to change the lube and filter, and every 6 months we rotate the tires, but we don't do that for ourselves, right?
Right.
So the thing is, we're a work in progress. So let's say we're very emotionally compromised, like that woman for 30 years with depression.
Yeah.
I take her to the place where before that even happened. So now she's at an elevated place. But now I can give her the tools to go to the next level, from ground zero to the next level of help, because I meet you where you're at. You won't have the tools necessary down here when you're totally compromised. So I have to take you to the place where you can see the sun, at least, like there's hope, and you're feeling grounded. Now I say, okay, where do you want to go now? Well, now I want to form a new business. I'm not even sure where to go, but I want to do it. Okay, now I'll give you the imprints to go to that level. You see. So imagine a karate, right? You start with the low level, I think yellow or brown belt, eventually get to black belt, and there's even levels in black belt. I can take the person to infinite levels wherever they are, wherever they want to go, you see? And it's always you're a work in progress, okay?
Yeah.
So what it is remember I said I need to clear ultimately from the childhood. That's why I told about those 4 phases. Mom, dad, and your childhood events. That's the first phase. So I start out with a set of 9 foundational sessions, okay? Because your parents imprinted you your whole life, your belief system of them, right? And grandparents. So it might take a few sessions to clear each parent, okay? And I do 1 session a week, by the way. And each session's an hour.
Okay.
So I clear the mom. It may take a couple sessions. And some people had heavy trauma with the parents, unfortunately. We know about abuse and stuff, unfortunately. So it may take a few more. But just say 2 or 3 with each one. So that's 6. Now we work on the key childhood events. My case being bullied. Maybe it was mental, emotional abuse, or even physical abuse, whatever it is for kids. Everyone's had different things in their life or traumas.
Yes.
So we clear those key childhood events. Remember, 0 to 12, right?
Right.
So that might probably fit within the foundational 9. We still then go to next, what's going on in your life right now that's challenging you, which was created from your past, and then current and past relationships. Okay. And it had some very heavy, deep, horrible relationships. It may take a couple sessions. But this is, by the way, a fraction of the time that it took them to get to that place to begin with. Maybe they had it for 20 years. So that's why I'm just saying. So 9 baseline sessions, and we go from there, And then once we clear the relationships and what's going on in their current life, then lastly, the grandparents. And we don't have to do all the grandparents, just the ones that had the highest emotional charge or that they had an issue with. And even, by the way, even if they didn't know them, that's very interesting. Because when we clear even the grandparent they didn't know, sometimes all these emotions just flow, tears or whatever, come through them. Because, by the way, those are the unresolved issues, the grandparents clearing through them.
Yeah.
So by baseline, and answer to your question, we have 9 foundational sessions, and we go from there. And as far as things lasting, we, as you know, process things in layers, right? The subconscious processes things in layers. Every sight, sound, emotion in every fraction of a second is stored in your subconscious since the day you were born. Some people say, oh, Deepak, I don't remember when I was born, all those emotions. I say, well, your subconscious does. And I'll be able to pick it up from your voice, from your subconscious, what those are. So when we clear those baseline emotions, if there's emotions even below that, that's when those resurface. So does that help? In other words, you're a work in progress, and then you can do maintenance, because guess what? Once you clear all those baseline things, now you're ready to go to the next level. Now, Deepak, I want to create this new thing for women or do this. Okay, now I'll give you the skill set and all of that emotionally, because you need a certain strength to do all these things and skill level to take you to the next level, and then the next level, and so on and so forth. So, for example, if let's say a person is sweeping the floors and they say, I want to be the president of this company, I can help you do that. But you need the skill level to first be a manager. Then you need to be the manager of the managers. Then you can be the vice president. And then, yes, you can be the president. But if you want to just go directly there, you don't have the skill level. You don't have the emotional heart strength within you to deal with all the challenges you're going to deal with all the people, right?
Yes,
You
we
don't have.
need a container to support the ambitions.
Yeah, exactly. And you have to build edit, right? That's why you go through all the schooling, right? Why don't I just do my master's? Why do I have to go through all this nursery school and all that? You have to go to, but I can take you there in a short period of time. But
Mhm.
my point is that, yes, we build on the rest. Now, you asked about, do you ever fall back? You're never falling back per se. It's only deeper levels that may be underneath those previous emotions that we cleared. So,
Mhm.
for example, let's say someone's rageful about some bitter divorce that happened. I cleared. Now they feel peaceful, grounded, centered, happy about it. But there might have been sadness below that was also there in the relationship, maybe 10 years, 15 years. So that comes to the surface. It's not that it didn't work. No, it did. Now we go to the next layer.
Mm.
Dude, I work at the rate that our subconscious works. I don't try to bypass the speed of it because it's only ready to receive. I always like kicking it by the hand. So, what are you ready to receive now? Release now. Okay, now I'm ready to release the sadness. Okay, I know it's coming up. Sure, no problem. Then maybe underneath that fear. Okay, now fear's coming up. Okay, now we'll work on that. Does that make sense?
Yeah. It sounds like very stepwise and very methodical, and
Yeah.
like you really meet the person where they're at and go at their pace.
I
Yeah.
will actually, in answering further to your question, instead, what if the person says to me, Deepak, yeah, send me all the frequencies. I can handle it. I'll say, no, ma'am, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to ask your subconscious what it's ready to receive from me
Mhm.
faster than you blink your eye. So I'll ask their subconscious through certain frequencies I send, subconscious of this person. I know they have this grief or depression or social anxiety, but what frequencies? I can send like 10 different frequencies, but what of those that they need are they ready to receive from me? Different than what they're, right? So it'll say, yep, send that. Nope, nope, yes, nope, nope, yes. It'll tell me very specifically, and I will only send those. So it's a perfect handshake every time.
Mm.
See? So that's how I meet them at the subconscious level at what they're ready to receive. But guess what? In future sessions, their subconscious said, oh, that felt so good. Now you have permission to send even more and
Mhm.
more and so forth.
Mhm. When you say send frequencies, do you mean like send recordings of frequencies
Well, well,
on
actually, what I mean is this.
when you say send frequencies?
Yeah. Frequencies, harmonics, and other advanced technologies of scalar waves as well. But that's what I'm saying to them. But let me explain this too, because you're asking great questions. Imagine we have 60 trillion cells in our body, right?
Yeah.
Because when you speak, you're not just speaking from here. I used to think you speak from a vocal cord. You're speaking with every part of your being, mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually, right?
Yeah, that's right.
And also, by the way, when you release these patterns, you're talking about the physical earlier,
Yeah.
I see people's shoulders drop, they stand straighter.
Mhm.
Before, when they came in, they're like their head is down. But as we start releasing these patterns, they start sitting up straight, their shoulders drop.
Yeah.
I'm not telling them anything, by the way. And they
Mhm.
start thinking differently too. So if every cell in our body has a keyboard of 12 keys, like a piano keyboard, I'm listening to them when they're speaking to every part of their being. That's what I'm listening for. So let's say they had grief and or anger or sadness or something. Remember certain keys of the piano are squashed, right? Yeah, I don't
Right.
hear those.
Right.
So I reverse engineer it. I will get those stuck keys that were not playing to play.
Ah,
And
okay.
whatever was sitting on those keys, anger, sadness, fear, whatever it is, cannot coexist in a harmonized environment. So when the key starts playing in the cells, that emotion will just release out of their body. It'll completely release out of their body. And then suddenly they feel a sense of peace and happiness in stages, you
Mhm.
see? And then I'll listen to their voice again. And this time I'll hear all the notes in their voice that I didn't hear before. Does that make sense? Because
Yeah.
all those keys are playing. So
Yeah.
that I wanted to explain that concept. So what I'm saying, when I'm sending frequencies, as I said, I'm sending the notes I didn't hear in their voice that I should have heard had they not had that limiting emotional pattern.
Got it. Yes, that makes
Sympathetic resonance, it's called.
okay, got it. Yeah, thanks for explaining that. So I'm wondering if we could shift gears a little bit to some of the techniques, and I want to give an opportunity for our listeners to experience and get a better sense of what it might feel like to do this work with the really tuning in and using the voice. So can you teach us some techniques or maybe one technique or a demo or something like that?
This is different. what I would do. But this is something they can do in the meantime to help release stress in the moment. And then, of course, to go to the root cause of where this is all coming from, which I will determine from their voice, because I do it on a one-to-one basis, because every person's voice is different.
Right.
I analyze it and then send them the corrective frequencies when we do the extra session. But this is a technique I can share for, like, in the current moment. Let's say you're very upset about something, sad or angry or very upset. So this is what I can do with all of with all of you listening and all of you watching this today. Think of a really stressful situation that may have happened just a moment ago or recently that you really bothers you when you think of it, and rate it on a scale of 1 to 10. If 1 is mild, it wouldn't be mild if it's something bothering you. Maybe 10, like close to a 10, like, oh, it really upset me when this person, hung up on me or betrayed me or, or whatever it is. Okay, so think of that, all of you.
Okay.
Okay, whatever.
Yeah,
Now,
something.
can you think of something?
Yeah, I can
And
think at something.
Okay. And just if I may ask you, on a scale of 1 to 10, what number would you give it if 10 is a very high level?
10 is very high level. I would say this is
High.
like maybe like a 5.
A 5. Okay. All right. I guess we can work with that. Okay.
Should we
Usually,
think of something that's
even
higher?
more strong. Yeah. Like even slightly above 5. It could be a 7 or something.
Like a 7? Okay, something recent or not recent?
It doesn't have to be. It doesn't matter.
Oh, it doesn't have to be recent? Okay, I could think of something that's a 10 if it's not recent.
Okay. Even if it was someone cutting you off on the road, it could be anything simple. Okay. Very good. So all of you have that in your mind. So think about that. Now, while you're thinking about that, I'd like you to take both hands. This is a technique called thought field therapy. It was developed by Dr. Roger Callahan, who's the original creator of that, and then other offshoots of that were EFT and other things. But what you do is think of that, feel the emotion of that, and I'd like you with both hands to tap on the beginning part of the eyebrow near the nose
Okay.
with both hands. Okay? And then after you do that, keep thinking about that and then of the emotion and tap under the eye on the bone part. So tap there, yes. Now with both fingers, tap on the bone under the eye,
Mhm.
right? Still thinking about that emotion of what happened there, okay? Now, keep thinking about it. Now take both hands, and if you're listening, take both fists and go about 4 inches below the armpit.
Mhm.
So imagine, if you're listening, just take both fists and just tap under both armpits and keep thinking about that, about 4 inches below the armpit. Now with both hands, tap under this bone. There's a collarbone,
Yeah.
for those listening, below your neck. Tap with both hands, thinking about that under the collarbone. Okay, just tap a few times. All right. Now, take a deep breath in and exhale slowly. Okay. Now, let's recheck that number. I'll ask you if it's okay with you, Ruthie. What
Mhm.
number would you give it now from where it was? What number would you give it now, I should say?
Mm.
The charge.
7. Say from 10 to 7.
Okay, that's excellent. So you can repeat this a
Mhm.
few times.
Mhm.
And then, if you want, I can repeat it, or the viewers can. Would you
Yeah.
like to repeat it again, or would you like me to share another technique?
Let's go with another technique, and I
Okay,
think we get the idea. It's kind of like the, emotional freedom tapping, right? The EFT
right.
tapping,
But
but how is this but this seems a little bit different. It seems like
this is the original technique from the
uh,
original creator of the technique. You're talking about EFT, and EFT was an offshoot of the original technique developed by the original person, Dr. Roger Callahan, called thought field therapy. So this is his unique technique, which and I and my sister directly learned from him directly.
got it.
This was before, in the early days, I discovered this whole new thing with new technology with the voice. In the early days, I was searching.
Yeah, that's cool.
So, and it helps in the moment for sure.
Yeah,
And then if
it
you want to
really
get
does.
to,
It really does help to calm down the whole system, and the bilateral tapping helps to feel a little more detached from the emotional impact of, whatever the trigger is. So,
yes,
yeah, it kind of helps be like, "Okay, yeah, like, this is happening, this is here, but it's also okay."
exactly, exactly. So in the moment, it'll help you in that moment to bring it down. So if you want to get to the root of what even caused it, so it doesn't even happen again, that's where I come in. But this will help you in the moment. So there's another technique. So let's say you're in a line, or you're upset about something, or something happened with you, and then you're waiting in line, and you're feeling uncomfortable to do this tapping technique in front of others. Okay, though it's no one will even know what you're doing. But if you are, this is a technique you can do. It's called box breathing. So what you do, everyone, is sit comfortably, relax, and drop your shoulders. Breathe slowly, and you're going to follow this 4-count pattern. Okay, go ahead. So, is there any other thing you can think of before we do this, that it doesn't have to be a 10, but just sort of stressful? It can be,
Yeah.
okay.
I'll
Like, it
actually
can
the
be,
thing actually, what's funny that's coming up for me is the box breathing. Um, I live on the 17th floor of a building, and sometimes when I walk down, I do box breathing. I do like, one inhale on one flight, hold for a flight, exhale for a
whoa.
flight. So I do the box breathing kind of, boxing around the staircase, and just living on the 17th floor actually really bothers me a lot. It feels kind of ungrounded. So that's the thing that was showing up for me as something that bothers me. This is the trigger.
Okay, that's yeah, I mean, especially 17 flights of stairs. Yeah, that would be for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, so, um, so I would assume it's on a scale of 1 to 10, it's pretty up there?
It's 17.
17. Oh, yeah, 17 is a way beyond 10. Okay. So let's go ahead and do this. Again, sit comfortably, all of you. Relax your shoulders. Breathe slowly. And go ahead and inhale for a count of 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold. 2, 3, 4. Exhale. 1, 2, 3, 4. Again, hold. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, now go back to regular breathing. Okay. You can repeat this for about 2 to 4 cycles.
Mhm.
Did you notice it kind of took some of the edge off?
Yeah, I feel physiological difference.
Yeah, I can
Just
see it
like
in your face too.
more calm. Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yes, and then you can repeat it again and again and again, as long as you need it. And no one will know if you're in a public group, a group of people, no one will even know you're doing it. So this might be another technique you can do if you don't feel comfortable doing the tapping technique in public, but it works very well,
It
and it'll
does.
take that number down. Yeah. So
Yeah,
these are
yeah.
2 techniques that will help, and I'll have a link that you can share with your viewers and listeners that they can click. It's a PDF summarizing everything I did. You didn't have to remember all the steps that I shared with you.
Great. We'll have that in the show notes. And yeah, box breathing is great. And I also love how people can count at their own pace. So if somebody naturally has shorter breathing or longer breathing, their count of 4 can be matched to their natural breathing.
Absolutely. Yes, you can do the count as you like. If your lung capacity is huge, you can really slow it down.
Yeah.
Whatever's comfortable for you.
Yeah. Amazing. Cool. Well, thank you so much for sharing these techniques, and I'm sure that our listeners will find them very useful, and I could feel how they work very well. So this is great.
Wonderful.
Let's I know we need to start winding down for today. So I want to put in like something about Yoga Nidra here because this podcast does focus on the Yoga Nidra guided meditations, and so there's overlap. I think what we're talking about is really natural, self-guided kind of healing process and accessing that inner healing intelligence, which these practices are complementary, and we don't healing doesn't happen just by talking around the problem on a cognitive level. It happens when we go beyond the cognitive mind and into the deeper regions of the brain, into the body, into the subconscious and the unconscious. So what you're doing is very deep work through the channel of voice. Yoga Nidra is also, it's a complementary practice that also gets into these deeper regions of the brain, and you're really not doing anything at all. You're just there being present for yourself and just listening and observing, witnessing. So I think there's a lot of overlap. I think there's, a lot more we could talk about. But being mindful of our time, let me ask you to just share what your offerings are and where people can find you. And we'll have that information in the show notes as well.
Absolutely. So I offer a complimentary 15-minute uh, consult with me, no obligations, where I will listen to whatever challenges are going on in your life. You can pour your stories, your heartfelt stories out to me, challenges. And what I will do, and I do it with everyone, is I customize a program specific for that person of taking them from where they are to the challenge they are now to the freedom that they'll ultimately have. And I'll map it out for them. So to do that, they can go to my website, which is www.fastanxietyhelp.com, FASTANXITY help.com. And there they can sign up for a complimentary 15-minute consult with me, no obligations, through Zoom. And also, I recommend that they can read about my work, but they can click on the testimonials tab so they can see how so many people have benefited, and they may connect with certain people in their lives that were similar to what they're going through. So that's what I highly recommend. And again, no obligation, and then I can help take you to where you like to go.
Okay, that sounds really good. And we'll have that information in the show notes. Is there anything else as we wrap up for today, Deepak, that you would like to share with the listeners, people who might be struggling with anxiety or stress, burnout, insomnia, or just feeling stuck or unseen or unheard? So many
Yeah,
people struggle.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yes. And I empathize with all of your viewers and listeners for the challenge they've gone through. But what I wanted to say that is, regardless of all the challenges and suffering that you've gone through in your whole life and the situation that came into your life, there is a way out. I promise you, there is a way out, because those 4 phases I described, once you're able to blast out of that, you're creating a whole new reality for yourself that you won't even probably even recognize, because I didn't. I drew wonderful, loving, nurturing people in my life. I didn't even know what that is. You can have that. I've done that. Most of my clients are women. Many of them come for a improvement in relationships. They drew the same negative person over and over again. And suddenly when I start working with them, all these wonderful people, in this case, men, came in their life that some of them were like a storybook. So the point I'm making is, regardless of the anxiety or stress or depression, whatever you had in your life, you can have a free, liberated life in all the areas you would like to actually experience in of happiness and joy.
Yeah, it's a very inspiring and hopeful message. Thank you so much, Deepak. It was really, really great to speak with you and to learn from you about your really unique and precise approach that helps so many people. And really, I just really want to thank you from the bottom of my heart. It's really a treat to speak with you and learn from you. And thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you so much again for having me, Ruthie.
If you enjoyed this conversation with Deepak Chari, you can feel free to follow, subscribe, and share this with anyone who might be interested. You can find more information about Deepak's offerings in the show notes, and also you're invited to join the Nala Yoga WhatsApp community for the latest information on new offerings and episodes. I hope that you have a wonderful rest of your day or night, wherever you are in the world, and hope to meet you back here again soon for more Yoga Nidra goodness.